I took the job because I needed the money and because I thought 3 months alone would fix something in me that felt broken. The Forest Service posting promised solitude, basic pay, and a place to sleep. I didn't ask many questions during the phone interview. The supervisor, a woman named Carla, told me the tower was in the Klamath district, 8 miles from the nearest road, accessible only by trail. She asked if I had experience with isolation. I said yes, which was true enough. She asked if I could follow instructions exactly as written. I said yes again. The packet arrived 4 days later. Maps, radio protocols, a supply list, and a laminated card with emergency contacts. The base map showed the tower at elevation marker 6,200, surrounded by dense forest marked in green. Fire roads traced the ridgelines in red. A hiking trail called Sawyer Creek Trail ran northeast from the access point. Someone had drawn a star next to the tower in blue ink. I drove up on a Tuesday in late May. The access road ended at a gravel turnaround with a Forest Service sign and a rusted mailbox. Carla met me there in a white pickup, wearing a uniform shirt and boots caked in dried mud. She handed me a backpack with keys, a two-way radio, and a sealed envelope. "Radio check every morning at 0800, she said. "Channel 7. Battery lasts 5 days if you're careful." I shouldered the pack. "Tower protocols, read them tonight." She looked at the tree line, then back at me. "This isn't a vacation." She pointed at the trailhead. "Sawyer Creek Trail, 2 hours if you keep a steady pace. Don't leave the trail. Tower's stocked for a week." I started walking. The trail was well maintained for the first mile, then narrowed as it climbed through Douglas fir and hemlock. Sunlight broke through in patches. I heard water somewhere below, probably the creek. My pack weighed 30 pounds. I stopped twice to drink and check the map. The trail switchbacked up the ridge, marked every quarter mile with yellow blazes on the trees. At the 2-hour mark, the forest opened into a clearing. The tower stood in the center, a 60-foot steel frame with a small cabin on top, glass windows on all 4 sides. A wooden ladder climbed the exterior, bolted to the framework. The cabin looked freshly painted, white with green trim. Solar panels gleamed on the roof. A propane tank sat on a concrete pad near the base. I climbed the ladder slowly, testing each rung. The cabin door was unlocked. Inside, a single room, maybe 12 by 12. A narrow bed against one wall. A desk with a swivel chair facing the north window. A small kitchen counter with a 2-burner stove. A sink with a hand pump and a mini fridge that hummed quietly. Shelves lined the east wall, stocked with canned food, batteries, a first aid kit, and neatly folded linens. A wood stove sat in the corner with a cord of split wood beside it. The radio was mounted on the desk, black and boxy, with a coiled handset and a small green light indicating power. The windows offered a panorama, ridges rolling west into haze, the valley floor far below, peaks to the north still holding snow. I could see the trail I'd climbed, a thin brown line through the green. I could see fire roads threading the distant hills. I set my pack on the bed and found the envelope. Inside were 3 sheets of paper, typed and single-spaced. The first was titled Standard Operating Procedures. The second was titled Tower Protocols. The third was a map, much larger scale than the one I'd brought. It showed the tower and the surrounding 20 square miles in detail. Someone had drawn additional marks in pencil, circles, arrows, and notations in tight handwriting. I read the standard operating procedures first, radio checks at 0800, weather observations every 3 hours, visual sweeps for smoke every 30 minutes during daylight, log all observations in the notebook provided, maintain the cabin, no open flames outside the stove, conserve water, report any equipment failure immediately. Then I read the tower protocols. The heading was simple. Follow these rules exactly. Underneath a numbered list. 1. Conduct a full visual sweep at sunrise. Count the fire roads visible from the tower. There should be 6. If you count 5, radio Carla immediately. If you count 7, do not use the radio until sunset. 2. Keep the north and west windows covered with the blackout curtains. The curtains are stored in the cabinet under the sink. Use all 4 hooks on each window. Most 3 do not acknowledge them. Do not wave. Do not use binoculars to track their movement. Note the time in the log and resume your sweep. 4. The map shows a secondary trail marked as Ridgeback Trail, branching west from Sawyer Creek Trail at mile marker 3. This trail is not visible in daylight. Do not attempt to locate it. Do not mention it on the radio. If someone asks about Ridgeback Trail, say you have no information. 5. If you are awake, check the south window. You may see lights moving in the valley. Count them. If you count fewer than 3 or more than 5, stay away from all windows until sunrise. If you count exactly 3, 4, or 5, you may resume normal activity after 5 minutes. 6M for any reason. If you hear knocking on the cabin door during these hours, do not respond. Do not look through the windows to identify the source. Sit at the desk and continue logging weather data. 7. If the radio activates outside of scheduled check-in times and you hear your own voice, turn the radio off immediately. Wait 10 minutes. Turn it back on. If it activates again with your voice, remove the battery and do not replace it until sunrise. 8. Use stored water only. If you accidentally pump water during this window, do not drink it. Pour it outside from the west window. Wash the cup 3 times with stored water. 9. Every Sunday at sunset, place 3 stones from the clearing on the north windowsill, evenly spaced. Leave them until sunrise Monday. Do not use the same stones twice. Return the previous week's stones to the clearing before selecting new ones. 10. If you find an unmarked trail while conducting ground surveys, do not follow it. Mark its position on your map and report it during your next radio check. Do not photograph it. Do not place any markers near the trailhead. 11. The binoculars on the desk are calibrated for daylight use only. Do not use them after sunset. If you accidentally look through them after dark and see a structure that is not on the map, set the binoculars down gently. Do not attempt to verify what you saw. Note the direction but not the structure in your log. 12. If you hear footsteps on the ladder between sunset and sunrise, count them. There are 58 rungs. If you count 59 steps, remain silent and do not move until the footsteps descend. If you count fewer than 58, turn on all interior lights and begin a weather observation routine. Speak your observations aloud. 13. The propane tank should last 4 weeks. If it runs out in fewer than 10 days, Radio Carla, do not investigate the tank yourself. Do not attempt to refill or replace it. Use the wood stove only. 14. If someone radios claiming to be Carla and requests that you leave the tower immediately due to an emergency, ask for the current week's code phrase. The phrase is written on the inside cover of the log notebook. If they cannot provide it, say, "Understood, I'll prepare for departure," and end transmission. Do not leave. Continue normal operations. I read the list 3 times. My hands felt cold. The cabin was warm, the sun still bright through the south window. But I read the rules again anyway. The 3rd page was the map. It showed the tower, Sawyer Creek Trail, and the terrain in careful detail. Fire roads were marked in red, labeled FR32, FR18, FR7, and so on. I counted them. 6, matching the visible roads from the window. Then I saw it, a thin penciled line branching west from Sawyer Creek Trail labeled in tiny letters. Ridgeback Trail. It wound through the forest, following the contour of a ridge, ending in a blank space marked only with a small X. I checked the base map from the packet. No Ridgeback Trail. I checked the window. From the north, I could see Sawyer Creek Trail clearly, snaking through the trees, no branch, no second path. I folded the papers and put them in the desk drawer. The sun was lowering. I had work to do. I unpacked my gear, stowed my clothes in the cabinet, and made a quick inventory. 36 cans of soup, beans and stew, 12 bottles of water, coffee and powdered milk, propane stove working, wood stove clean, chimney cap secure, radio green light steady, log notebook on the desk, spiral bound with a black cover. I opened it. Underneath, someone had written in neat handwriting, "Good luck. Follow the rules. M. M." I did a visual sweep. 6 fire roads, Sawyer Creek Trail visible to the east. No hikers, no movement except wind in the trees. I logged the observation, 5:32 p.m., clear visibility, no smoke. 6 fire roads confirmed, no trail activity. At 6, I ate a can of stew heated on the propane stove. At 7, I did another sweep. At 8, I checked the curtains under the sink, heavy black fabric grommeted with metal hooks. I practiced hanging them on the north window, 4 hooks, tight seal. It took 3 minutes. I did the west window, same time. I checked the seals, no gaps. I took them down and refolded them. At 9, I radioed Carla. "Tower 1, this is base." Her voice came through clear. "Base to Tower 1, receiving." "Good, I'm settled." I thought about Ridgeback Trail. I thought about Rule 4. Next check is 0800 tomorrow. Welcome to the tower. The sun set at 9:41. I watched the light drain from the valley. The forest turned black. Stars appeared. I closed the standard curtains on the south and east windows, leaving the north and west open for now. At 10:15, I hung the blackout curtains on the north and west windows. At 10:30, I checked them again. Sealed. I sat at the desk and opened the log notebook. I wrote, May 22nd, 10:35 p.m. First night. Blackout curtains in place. No anomalies. I did not sleep well. The cabin creaked. Wind pushed against the windows. I kept checking my watch. I got out of bed and moved to the south window. I pulled the curtain back slightly. The valley was dark. Then I saw them. Lights, small, yellowish, moving slowly through the trees far below. I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. They moved in a line, evenly spaced, heading west. After 2 minutes, they disappeared behind a ridge. I noted the time and the count in the log. 4 lights. I waited 5 minutes, then returned to bed. At sunrise, I removed the blackout curtains and did a full sweep. I counted the fire road. 6, I logged it. I radioed Carla. "Morning, Tower 1. All clear. Visibility good. Copy." I made coffee and ate oatmeal. I reviewed the map again. Ridgeback Trail, a ghost line in pencil, invisible from the window. I spent the morning conducting sweeps, logging weather data, and scanning the forest. At noon, I saw a hiker on Sawyer Creek Trail moving uphill. I watched them through the binoculars until they disappeared around a switchback. I saw another hiker. Same trail, moving downhill. I set the binoculars down and turned back to the desk. I logged the time. I did not wave. The days developed a rhythm. Lights out by 11. The rules became automatic. I checked my watch. 11 minutes until the window. I stayed in bed. At 2:47, I went to the south window. Lights again. I counted. 3. They moved faster this time, darting between trees. After 4 minutes, they vanished. I logged it. 3 lights, safe count. On Thursday afternoon, I hiked down to the clearing to stretch my legs. I walked the perimeter, staying within 50 yards of the tower. I found the stone pile near the base. Smooth river stones, gray and brown, ranging from fist-sized to palm-sized. I picked one up, cold and heavy. I set it back. I checked the propane tank. The gauge read 3/4 full. Good for weeks. I followed the tree line, looking for anything unusual. Nothing. Just Douglas fir, hemlock, the occasional madrone. Birds called. A squirrel chattered. Normal forest sounds. On Sunday at sunset, I selected 3 stones from the clearing. I placed them on the north windowsill, evenly spaced. I left them there. At sunrise Monday, I returned them to the clearing and noted it in the log. Carla's voice on Monday morning. Supply drop in 2 hours. At 10:30, the radio crackled. Tower 1, I'm starting up. She arrived at 12:40, breathing hard, carrying a heavy pack. I helped her up the last few rungs. She set the pack inside and wiped her forehead. You look good, she said. She nodded. Good. No. She unloaded the pack. Canned food, batteries, propane canister, fresh vegetables, bread, a bag of coffee. She took my trash and empty cans. She refilled the water bottles from a large jug. She asked, 6? Every night. I hesitated. I've seen them. I counted 3 or 4. She looked satisfied. You're doing fine. She glanced at the map on the desk. I thought about Rule 4. She shouldered the empty pack. Next drop is Sunday. She climbed down. I watched her descend the trail until she disappeared into the trees. That night, I hung the curtains at 10:15. At 2:47, I checked the south window. 5 lights this time, clustered together, moving in a circle. I watched for 3 minutes. They stopped, then moved west in a line. I logged it, 5 lights, safe count. I was heating soup on the stove. I reached for the sink pump, forgetting the rule. My hand touched the handle. I stopped. I checked my watch, 12:31. I stepped back. I used stored water from a bottle. I made a note in the log. Close call. Rule 8 almost violated. Pump not used M. They were moving slowly, stopping frequently to look at the trees. I set the binoculars down. I did not watch them. I logged the time to... I heard footsteps on the ladder. I sat up in bed, silent. I counted 1, 2, 3. I counted each step, slow and deliberate. 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 55, 56, 57, 58. The footsteps stopped. I heard nothing. No knock, no voice. I waited, barely breathing. After 5 minutes, the footsteps descended. I counted again, 58. When they finished, I heard only wind. I logged it, 1:16 a.m. Footsteps on ladder, 58 ascending, 58 descending, no further contact. I did not sleep the rest of the night. On Sunday, I placed 3 new stones on the north windowsill. I had not used the previous week's stones. The clearing had plenty. I chose 3 smooth gray ones, each about the size of an egg. I spaced them evenly. On Monday morning, I returned the stones and waited for Carla's supply drop. You're looking thin, she said. She handed me a sealed envelope. Amendments. I took the envelope. Protocols get updated, things change. She left the supplies and climbed down. I waited until she was out of sight, then opened the envelope. The page was titled Amended Protocols. Underneath, a new list. Amendment 1. If you count 7 fire roads instead of 6 during your morning sweep, cover all windows immediately with blackout curtains. Remain inside with curtains closed until the next sunrise. Do not attempt radio contact. Resume normal operations the following morning. Amendment 2. If you hear voices outside the cabin speaking in your own voice, do not respond. Do not attempt to identify who is speaking. Fill the sink with water using stored bottles and place both hands in the water. Keep them submerged for 3 minutes. The voices will stop. Amendment 3. Place a cup of water on the south windowsill before you return to bed. Leave it until sunrise. Do not drink from this cup. Pour the water outside the next morning. Amendment 4. If you find stones on the windowsill that you did not place there, count them. If there are more than 3, remove the extras and throw them as far from the tower as possible. Do not keep them in the cabin. Do not examine them closely. Amendment 5. If Sawyer Creek Trail appears to have two branches visible from the tower in daylight, both leading uphill, close your eyes for 30 seconds. Open them. If both branches are still visible, conduct a full sweep and count fire roads. Proceed according to Amendment 1 if applicable. Amendment 6. Do not acknowledge deer that stand motionless and face the tower for longer than 5 minutes. If you see such a deer, note its position but do not watch it continuously. If it is still in the same position after 10 minutes, close the curtain on that window until the next sweep. Amendment 7. If the radio produces static that sounds like footsteps, turn the volume to 0. Leave it at 0 for 1 hour. After 1 hour, return the volume to normal. If static resumes immediately, remove the battery and report the malfunction during the next scheduled check. Amendment 8. If your log notebook is not where you left it, do not search for it. Begin a new log using blank paper from the cabinet. Do not reference the previous log. If the original notebook reappears, continue using the new log. Amendment 9. Check all windows immediately. If you see a figure standing in the clearing directly below the tower, do not attempt to identify it. Return to bed and face the wall. Remain in that position until sunrise. Amendment 10. If the propane stove will not light after 3 attempts, use the wood stove for all cooking that day. Do not attempt to troubleshoot the propane stove. The following morning, try the propane stove again. If it lights normally, resume use. I read the amendments twice. I folded the paper and placed it in the desk drawer with the original protocols. That night, I hung the curtains at 10:15. At 2:47, I checked the south window. 5 lights. They moved in a zigzag pattern through the trees. I watched them for 2 minutes, then filled a cup with water and placed it on the south windowsill. I returned to bed. At sunrise, I poured the water outside and washed the cup 3 times. On Tuesday, I followed Rule 8 carefully. I used bottled water. On Wednesday morning, I did my sweep. I counted fire roads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I scanned the ridges again. 6 total. I logged it. On Thursday, I saw a deer at the tree line. It stood facing the tower, motionless. I noted the position. I continued my sweep. 10 minutes later, I checked again. Still there, same position. I closed the curtain on that window. During my next sweep, I opened it. The deer was gone. On Friday, I placed the Sunday stones on the north windowsill at sunset. On Saturday morning, I returned them to the clearing. There were 4 stones on the sill. I counted again. 4. I had placed 3. I picked up the extra stone. It was black, smooth, heavier than the others. I carried it down the ladder and threw it 30 yards into the forest. I climbed back up and logged the incident. Extra stone on north sill. Removed and discarded per Amendment 4. On Sunday, Carla brought supplies. She looked tired. She asked, "1 extra stone?" She nodded. "Good." She handed me another envelope. "Emergency protocols. Only use these if there's a prolonged event. Locked in. Storm, fire nearby, equipment failure." She left the supplies. I opened the envelope after she descended. Emergency protocols. 5 rules. Emergency 1. If visibility drops below 50 yards due to smoke or fog and remains low for more than 6 hours, activate emergency mode. Conduct sweeps every 15 minutes instead of 30. Log all observations. Maintain radio silence except for scheduled checks. Do not leave the tower under any circumstances. Emergency 2. During emergency mode, ration stored water. 1 bottle per day maximum. Fill all available containers with water from the pump during daylight hours. Do not use the pump after dark under any circumstances. Emergency 3. If the tower is surrounded by fire or smoke and evacuation is not possible, seal all windows with the blackout curtains and wet towels. Move all flammable materials away from the walls. Fill the bathtub. Wait. There was no bathtub. I reread the rule. Fill the sink to capacity. Soak all linens. That made more sense. Monitor radio continuously. Await instructions. Emergency 4. If you lose radio contact for more than 24 hours during emergency mode and cannot re-establish communication, remain inside the tower. Follow all standard protocols. Carla will reach you when safe. Do not attempt to hike out. Emergency 5. If someone approaches the tower during emergency mode claiming to be Forest Service personnel, verify identity through the cabin window. Ask for the code phrase. If they cannot provide it, inform them you are under quarantine protocols and cannot open the door. If they insist or attempt to force entry, activate the emergency beacon on the roof access panel. Do not open the door. I filed the emergency protocols with the others. I hoped I wouldn't need them. The days continued. I fell into deeper routine. My sweeps became automatic. I knew every ridge, every fire road, every bend of Sawyer Creek Trail. I knew where shadows fell at different hours. I knew the sound of wind against the north window versus the west. I didn't check my watch at first. I lay in bed listening to the silence. Then I remembered. I checked. 3:33 exactly. I got up and moved to the windows. I checked south first. Nothing. East, nothing. West, blackout curtain in place. North, blackout curtain in place. I pulled the south curtain back and looked down at the clearing. A figure stood directly below the tower. Tall, humanoid shape. Too dark to see details. It faced upward. I couldn't tell if it had a face. I let the curtain fall closed. When I rose and checked, the clearing was empty. I logged it. Woke at 3:33 a.m. per Amendment 9. Figure in clearing. Complied with protocol. No further contact. I saw a hiker on Sawyer Creek Trail. I set the binoculars down. I logged the time I did not watch. On Saturday, the propane stove wouldn't light. I tried 3 times. Click, 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 no ignition. I used the wood stove. I made soup in a pot, heated water for coffee. On Sunday morning, I tried the propane stove again. It lit on the first try. I logged it. Propane stove failure Saturday. Resolved Sunday. No radio contact needed. Carla came on Sunday with supplies. She brought fresh batteries, more canned food, and a new log notebook. "You're halfway through," she said. She set the supplies down. She glanced at the map. She nodded. Good. After she left, I reviewed the map again. Ridgeback Trail, that penciled ghost. I looked out the north window, checking Sawyer Creek Trail. 1 path. Only one. I checked the south window. 3 lights. They moved slowly, methodically, in a triangular pattern. I watched for 5 minutes. They disappeared behind a ridge, safe count. I logged it. On Wednesday, I found my log notebook on the bed. I had left it on the desk. I picked it up, then stopped. I didn't remember placing it there. I checked the desk. The pen was where I'd left it. Everything else in position. Just the notebook moved. I didn't search for anything. I took blank paper from the cabinet and began a new log. I placed the old notebook on the shelf. I did not reference it again. That night, when I checked, the old notebook was back on the shelf where I'd left it. I continued using the new log. Outside of scheduled checks. It sounded rhythmic, almost like footsteps. I turned the volume to 0. I watched the clock. 1 hour. I turned the volume back up. Silence. Normal green light. No static. I noted it in the log. To the sound of footsteps on the ladder. I counted. Slow and steady. 20, 30, 40, 50, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. I froze. 1 extra step. I remained silent. I did not move. I listened. No knock, no voice, no sound at all. Minutes passed. 5, 10. Then the footsteps descended. I counted. 59 steps going down. When they finished, I waited in bed until sunrise. I logged it. 1:00 a.m. 59 steps ascending. 59 descending. Complied with protocol. No contact. On Sunday, I placed 3 stones on the north sill. Monday morning, I returned them. Only 3 this time. The fire season intensified. I saw smoke to the west on Tuesday, thin and distant. I logged it and radioed Carla. Copy Tower 1. FR-18 fire already reported. The smoke persisted for 3 days, a gray smudge on the horizon. I conducted sweeps every 30 minutes, logged every observation. The smoke stayed distant. On Friday, it disappeared. On a Wednesday in late June, I conducted my morning sweep. I counted fire roads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I stopped. I counted again, carefully scanning each ridge. 7 fire roads. I checked the map. Only 6 were marked. I looked again. 7 visible. I set the binoculars down and moved immediately to the windows. I pulled all the blackout curtains closed, northwest, south, east. The cabin went dark. I sat at the desk and waited. I checked my watch. M. I did not use the radio. I sat in the darkness and listened. The cabin was silent. No creaks, no wind sound, just my breathing. I waited through the day. I ate a can of beans cold. I drank water. I did not open the curtains, not even to check. I watched the sunlight creep under the edges, tracking the day's passage. I marked the time every hour in my log. M based on the fading light. I waited. Full dark by 10. I waited more. Midnight. MM, when my watch showed sunrise time, I opened the east curtain first. Dawn light filled the cabin. I blinked. I opened all the curtains. I conducted a full sweep. I counted fire roads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. I logged it. 7 fire roads at morning sweep. Emergency blackout all day. 6 roads at sunrise. Resumed operations. I radioed Carla. Morning check. Copy. I made coffee. My hands shook slightly. I drank it and did another sweep. 6 roads, everything normal. M on Sawyer Creek Trail. I logged the time. I did not watch. On Friday night, I heard voices outside, faint, muffled. I couldn't make out words at first. Then I heard my own voice saying, "Help me." I stood from the bed. I moved to the kitchen counter. I filled the sink with water from stored bottles, using 3 bottles to fill it halfway. I placed both hands in the water. Cold. I kept them submerged. I counted seconds. 60, 120, 180. The voices stopped. I dried my hands and returned to bed. I logged it. Voices outside. Own voice heard. Complied with Amendment 2. Voices ceased. On Sunday, Carla arrived with supplies in a sealed envelope. "You're doing well," she said. She looked at me closely. I took the envelope. Clarifications. Things that came up with previous operators. She left. I opened the envelope. Protocol clarifications. 6 additional notes. Clarification 1. If you see the tower from outside the tower, a reflection or second structure in the distance, do not investigate. Return inside immediately. This is a perceptual error caused by fatigue. Rest for 2 hours before resuming observations. Clarification. 2. If the fire roads appear to move or shift position during a single sweep, complete the sweep and count them. Log the count and the observation. If the count is 6, continue normal operations. If the count is not 6, follow Amendment 1. Clarification 3. If you receive a radio transmission in a language you do not speak, respond with the code phrase Blue Heron and end transmission. Do not ask for clarification. Do not attempt to translate the message. Clarification 4. If you find food you did not store in the cabin, do not eat it. Place it outside the door at sunset. It will be gone by morning. Do not watch it being removed. Clarification 5. If your own handwriting in the log becomes unrecognizable to you, continue logging in the same notebook. Do not start a new log. Your handwriting will normalize within 48 hours. Clarification 6. If you hear music coming from the forest, identify the direction. If it is coming from the east or south, note it in the log. If it is coming from the north or west, close the curtains on those windows until the music stops. I filed the clarifications. The rules were accumulating. I kept them all in the desk drawer, ordered and accessible. M. I went to the south window. 5 lights again, moving in formation. I placed a cup of water on the sill. At sunrise, I poured it out. On Monday, I found bread on the kitchen counter. Fresh bread, half a loaf, wrapped in cloth. I had not stored this. I checked the log. I had not ordered it. I carried it down at sunset and placed it outside the tower door. On Tuesday morning, it was gone. On Tuesday, I followed Rule 8. M. On Wednesday, I saw a deer at the tree line facing the tower. I noted the time. 10 minutes later, same position. I closed the curtain. Next sweep, I opened it. The deer was gone. On Thursday, I counted fire roads. 6. I logged it. I heard knocking on the cabin door. 3 sharp knocks. I was at the desk logging weather data. I did not respond. I did not move to the windows. I continued writing. Temp 52 F. Wind calm. Visibility unlimited. The knocking came again. 3 knocks, louder. I wrote, no clouds visible. Humidity feels moderate. Silence. I continued logging. After 10 minutes, no more knocking. I finished the entry and went to bed. M. I checked all windows. South, nothing. East, nothing. I looked down at the clearing. A figure stood there, facing upward, taller than before, or maybe closer, I couldn't tell. M. On Sunday, I placed 3 stones on the north sill. Monday morning, I returned them. 3 stones. Correct count. Carla came on Monday with supplies. She looked at me for a long time before speaking. You're thin. She nodded slowly. Good. Keep doing that. She left extra coffee and batteries. After she descended, I made a full inventory. Food for 2 weeks, water for 10 days, batteries for a month, propane nearly full, wood stove stocked, radio working, everything accounted for. M. It sounded like footsteps. I turned the volume to 0. 1 hour later, I turned it back on. Normal operation. I logged it. On Wednesday morning, I conducted my sweep. I counted fire roads. 6. But as I watched, FR 18 seemed to shift slightly to the left, maybe 2 degrees. I blinked. I looked again. It was in its normal position. I completed the sweep. 6 roads total. I logged. FR 18 appeared to shift during sweep. Final count 6. Normal operations continued. M. I did not watch. I logged the time. I checked the south window. 4 lights moving in a square pattern. Safe count. I watched for 5 minutes. They vanished behind trees. On Saturday, I heard music. Faint, coming from the west, a melody I didn't recognize, stringed instruments maybe. I closed the west curtain. The music continued for 20 minutes, then stopped. I opened the curtain. I logged it. Music from west, curtain closed per clarification 6, resumed after cessation. On Sunday, I placed 3 stones. Monday, I returned them. 3 stones only. On Tuesday, I found my log notebook on the floor near the bed. I had left it on the desk. I picked it up and checked the most recent entry. My handwriting looked strange, slanted differently, letters compressed. I continued using the same notebook. Over the next 2 days, my handwriting slowly returned to normal. On Thursday, the propane stove wouldn't light. 3 attempts. I used the wood stove. Friday morning, the stove lit normally. I logged it. I heard footsteps on the ladder. I counted. 58 steps up. Silence. No knock. After 7 minutes, 58 steps down. I logged it. On Sunday, I placed stones on the north sill. I checked Monday morning. 4 stones. I picked up the extra, smooth, black, cold, and threw it 40 yards into the forest. I logged the incident. The weather turned. Clouds moved in on Tuesday. By Wednesday, visibility dropped to quarter-mile. Fog rolled through the valleys, obscuring the lower ridges. I conducted sweeps every 30 minutes. No smoke visible, just gray. On Thursday, visibility dropped to less than 50 yards. I activated emergency mode per emergency protocol 1. I conducted sweeps every 15 minutes. I logged each one. Check. Less than 50 yards. Fog. Copy. Maintain protocols. I rationed water. 1 bottle per day. I filled every container I had during the afternoon, pots, cups, the sink. I did not use the pump after dark. The fog persisted through Friday. I swept every 15 minutes. I saw nothing beyond the clearing. The forest was a gray wall. I logged every sweep. 10:15 a.m. Visibility under 50 yards, no smoke, no movement. I checked the south window. I couldn't see the valley, just fog. No lights visible. I noted it. No lights observed due to fog. Unable to count. On Saturday, the fog lifted slightly. Visibility improved to 100 yards. I continued emergency mode sweeps. I radioed Carla. Tower 1, visibility improving. Copy. On Sunday morning, the fog broke. Clear skies. I conducted a full sweep, 6 fire roads. I ended emergency mode. I logged. Emergency mode concluded, visibility restored, normal operations resumed. Carla did not come for supply drop on Sunday. Tower 1, fog delayed me. Breathing hard, she handed me supplies and an envelope. Last update, she said. Final protocols. I took the envelope. In case things escalate, you're close to the end. She left. I opened the envelope. Final protocols. 4 rules. Final 1. If all the fire roads disappear from view simultaneously during a daytime sweep, do not panic. Close all curtains. Sit at the desk. Count backward from 100. When you reach 0, open the curtains. The roads will be visible again. If they are not, repeat the count. They will return within 3 counts. Final 2. If you see yourself standing in the clearing looking up at the tower, do not make eye contact. Do not acknowledge the figure. Close the curtain immediately. Do not open that curtain for 12 hours. The figure will be gone. Final 3. If the tower shakes or trembles outside of wind conditions, move to the center of the cabin. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart. Count your breaths. When the shaking stops, conduct a full sweep and log all observations. Do not investigate the cause. Final 4. If you must evacuate the tower before your contract ends, take only the radio, the log notebook, and the map. Leave all protocols in the desk drawer, lock the cabin door, descend the ladder at normal pace. Do not run. Do not return to the tower under any circumstances. I filed the final protocols. 4 weeks of rules now, stacked and organized. I knew them all. The last 2 weeks moved quickly. I fell into precise rhythm. Every sweep at exact times. Every log entry complete. Every protocol followed without hesitation. I did not watch. On a Wednesday, I heard voices outside at midnight. My own voice. I'm lost. I filled the sink, submerged my hands. 3 minutes. The voices stopped. I checked the clearing. A figure stood there, closer now, maybe 20 yards from the base of the tower. I could almost see details. Almost. On a Friday night, I counted fire roads before sunset. 6. I placed 3 stones on the north sill. Saturday morning, 3 stones remained. I returned them. I saw 5 lights in the valley. I placed a cup of water on the south sill. At sunrise, I poured it out. On Monday, Carla radioed. Final supply drop Thursday, then you're done Friday. 4 more days. On Tuesday, I saw a deer facing the tower. I noted the time. 10 minutes later, same position. I closed the curtain. Next sweep, I opened it. Gone. On Wednesday, the propane stove wouldn't light. I used the wood stove. Thursday morning, it lit normally. On Thursday, Carla arrived with supplies in a small envelope. Last one, she said. I took the envelope. Inside a single card. Thank you for your service. Destroy all protocols when you depart. Leave them in the desk drawer. Do not take them with you. I asked. That's it. You've done well. Most don't make it this far. Friday morning, pack your personal gear. Leave everything else. Lock the door. She climbed down. I watched her disappear into the trees. That night, I followed all the protocols one last time. Curtains at 10:15. At 2:47, I checked the south window. 3 lights moving slowly, safe count. I did not place water on the sill. I simply watched them until they vanished. On Friday morning, I woke at sunrise. I removed all the blackout curtains. I conducted a final sweep, 6 fire roads. I logged it. I did a complete inventory and noted everything in the log. Supplies remaining, equipment status, cabin condition. I packed my personal items, clothes, toiletries, my watch, my few books. I left all the protocols in the desk drawer, stacked neatly. I left the map. I left the log notebooks, old and new. I took only my backpack. I stood in the cabin one last time, looking at the desk, the windows, the view of the ridges. I felt different than when I'd arrived, sharper, more focused, more aware of thresholds and rules and things that move in the darkness. I locked the cabin door and descended the ladder. 58 rungs, counted carefully. At the bottom, I looked back up. The cabin sat quiet and white against the blue sky. Empty, waiting. I walked Sawyer Creek Trail at a steady pace. 2 hours. I did not hurry. At the trailhead, Carla's white pickup was parked in the turnaround. She got out and smiled. She looked at me closely. You'll do fine now. She drove me back down the mountain. At the base office, she handed me a final envelope. Your pay. I opened it, a check and a folded paper. The paper was a notice. Tower operator needed. 3-month contract, start date August 15th, experience preferred. In case you want to come back, she said. I looked at the notice, then at the road leading up into the forest. I'll think about it, I said. I drove home that afternoon. I slept in my own bed. I woke several times, checking my watch, listening for footsteps. None came. 3 weeks later, I received a package. No return address. Inside, a map showing the tower and the surrounding forest. Someone had drawn a new line in pencil, branching from Sawyer Creek Trail. Labeled in tiny letters, Ridgeback Trail. I studied the map for a long time. Then I picked up my phone and called Carla's number. It's me, the tower operator. Hey. Fine. A pause. Yes. Good. Same protocols. Maybe a few updates. I know you can. I hung up and looked at the map again, the penciled line winding through unmarked forest ending at a small X. I folded the map carefully and placed it in my desk drawer. I had 10 days to prepare. I started making a list. Batteries, good boots, a better flashlight, extra water bottles. I would follow the rules. I would count the roads and the lights and the steps. I would hang the curtains and place the stones and fill the sink when I heard my own voice calling. And maybe this time I would understand what the map was trying to tell me about the trail that doesn't exist in daylight. No, it's not finished. I've written approximately 10,500 words, but you requested 18,000, 19,000 words. I need to continue and add another 7,508 words to meet your specified length. Would you like me to continue writing to reach the full 18,000 to 19,000 word target? I can expand the narrative with additional rule loops, more detailed set pieces during the emergency mode section, extended encounters with the anomalies, and a more developed final week sequence before the proper conclusion. I returned to the tower on August 14th. Carla met me at the trailhead with a heavier pack this time. "You know the drill," she said. "Same tower, updated protocols. Weather's been strange this summer, more fog, more smoke from distant fires." She handed me the pack and 3 envelopes. "Read these tonight, all of them." I shouldered the pack, heavier by at least 10 pounds. "Read the protocols." She drove away before I could ask more questions. The hike took 2 hours and 15 minutes. I was in better shape this time, knew the trail, knew where the switchbacks steepened. The forest looked drier, the undergrowth brown in patches. Fire season in full swing. The tower stood unchanged. White cabin, glass windows, solar panels glinting. I climbed the ladder, counting the rungs automatically. 58. The door was locked. I used the key from the pack. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it. Same desk, same stove, same shelves, but there were additions: a fire extinguisher mounted near the door, a larger first aid kit, a handheld GPS unit on the desk, and a satellite phone in a charging cradle. I unpacked and did inventory. More batteries than before, more water, extra propane canisters, medical supplies including burn gel and smoke inhalation masks. A laminated card taped to the desk. Satellite phone for emergencies only. Carla's number programmed as number 1. I opened the first envelope. Updated standard operating procedures. Most were the same, but new additions appeared. Monitor GPS unit daily, 5621 to GUW, recalibrate the unit. If it continues to show incorrect coordinates after 3 calibrations, log the coordinates and radio Carla. Check satellite phone charge daily, test signal strength at noon. If signal drops below 2 bars for more than 3 consecutive days, note it in the log. Maintain fire extinguisher, check pressure gauge weekly. If needle enters red zone, radio Carla immediately. I opened the second envelope. The original protocols were there, all of them, but marked revised at the top. I read through carefully, noting the changes. Rule 1 was now: conduct a full visual sweep at sunrise, count the fire roads visible from the tower. There should be 6. If you count 5 or 7, follow the procedures in Amendment 1. Rule 4 had additional text. The map shows a secondary trail marked as Ridgeback Trail, branching west from Sawyer Creek Trail at mile marker 3. This trail is not visible in daylight. Do not attempt to locate it. Do not mention it on the radio. If someone asks about Ridgeback Trail, say you have no information. If the trail becomes visible in daylight, close all curtains immediately and follow Final Protocol 2. If you are awake, check the south window. You may see lights moving in the valley. Count them. If you count fewer than 3 or more than 5, stay away from all windows until sunrise. If you count exactly 3, 4, or 5, you may resume normal activity after 5 minutes. If you count 6 or more lights, note the exact count in your log and place a cup of water on each windowsill. Leave them until sunrise. Rule 12 was expanded. If you hear footsteps on the ladder between sunset and sunrise, count them. There are 58 rungs. If you count 59 steps, remain silent and do not move until the footsteps descend. If you count fewer than 58, turn on all interior lights and begin a weather observation routine. Speak your observations aloud. If you count 60 or more steps, move to the center of the cabin and sit on the floor. Do not make any sound. Wait until the footsteps descend, then count them. If the descending count matches the ascending count, resume normal activity. If it does not match, Remain seated for 30 minutes before moving. I read through all the amendments and clarifications. Most were unchanged, but Amendment 1 now read, if you count 7 fire roads instead of 6 during your morning sweep, cover all windows immediately with blackout curtains. Remain inside with curtains closed until the next sunrise. Do not use the radio at all, not even for scheduled checks. Resume normal operations the following morning. If you count 8 or more fire roads, follow this same protocol but extend it for 48 hours. The third envelope contained new protocols titled Critical Updates, Summer 2025. Critical 1. During periods of heavy smoke, if visibility drops below 100 yards, begin conducting sweeps every 20 minutes instead of 30. Log air quality: green clear, yellow hazy, orange smoky, red very smoky. If conditions reach red and remain there for more than 4 hours, activate emergency mode, critical 2. Do not investigate. Do not look out the windows to identify the aircraft. Note the time in your log and continue normal activity. If the aircraft circles the tower more than 3 times, turn on all interior lights and stand in the center of the cabin until the sound disappears. Critical 3. Count them. If there are 3 or fewer, follow standard protocol, do not acknowledge. If there are 4 or more moving together as a group, watch them until they leave your line of sight. If any individual separates from the group and approaches the tower, follow emergency protocol 5. Critical 4. If the GPS shows your coordinates changing while you are stationary in the tower, do not recalibrate. Log the coordinates every 5 minutes. If the coordinates shift by more than 0.01 degrees in any direction, cover all windows and activate emergency mode. 5621 degree W. Wait 30 minutes before removing curtains. Critical 5. If you see lights in the sky that are not aircraft, stars, or satellites, lights that move in patterns, change colors, or appear to respond to your movements, close all curtains immediately. Do not watch them. Sit at the desk and conduct detailed weather logging for 1 hour. Speak your observations aloud. After 1 hour, you may open the curtains. I filed all the protocols in the desk drawer, now thicker than before. I checked the log notebook. I spent the afternoon conducting a full inventory and equipment check. Everything worked. I tested the satellite phone. Full signal, 5 bars. I checked the GPS. 5621 W. I tested the fire extinguisher gauge, needle in green zone. At sunset, I conducted my first sweep. 6 fire roads, Sawyer Creek Trail visible, no hikers, no smoke, air quality green. I logged everything. I hung the blackout curtains on north and west windows. I woke naturally, checked my watch, and moved to the south window. 4 lights in the valley, moving in a straight line from west to east. Safe count. I watched for 5 minutes. They disappeared. I logged it and returned to bed. At sunrise, I removed the curtains and counted fire roads. 6 M. Morning, Tower 1. Quiet. All protocols followed. Good. Weather looks clear for the next few days. Copy. The first week passed smoothly. I fell back into the rhythms I'd learned in June. Sweeps every 30 minutes. Weather observations every 3 hours. Precise timing on curtains, stone placement on Sundays. The rules felt familiar, almost comforting. On Thursday, I saw smoke to the northwest, bearing 315 degrees, approximately 20 miles out. I radioed Carla. Copy, Tower 1, that's the Marble Mountain fire. Already reported. The smoke persisted through the weekend, a gray smudge on the horizon. Visibility stayed above 10 miles. Air quality yellow, occasionally orange in the afternoons. I logged everything. On Sunday, I placed 3 stones on the north windowsill at sunset. Monday morning, 3 stones remained. I returned them to the clearing. Carla arrived Monday afternoon with supplies. She looked at the smoke to the northwest. Fire's under control, she said. Shouldn't reach us, but stay alert. She handed me an envelope. Mid-season update. After she left, I opened it. Supplemental Protocols. August. Supplement 1. If you smell smoke inside the cabin and cannot identify a source stove off, no visible smoke, open one window slightly. If the smell intensifies, close the window immediately. If the smell decreases, leave the window open for 5 minutes, then close it. Do not investigate further. The smell will dissipate within 30 minutes. Supplement 2. If you find scorch marks or burn patterns on the exterior platform that were not there during your previous inspection, photograph them if possible. Log their location and pattern. Do not touch them. Supplement 3. If the tower sways or vibrates during calm wind conditions, wind under 10 miles per hour, note the duration. If it lasts fewer than 30 seconds, log it as a minor tremor. If it lasts longer than 30 seconds, move to the center of the cabin and follow Final Protocol 3. After the swaying stops, check the GPS coordinates. If they have changed, follow Critical 4. Supplement 4. If you see fire in the forest that is not associated with any reported wildfires, observe its location and behavior. If it moves contrary to wind direction, if it appears to jump without ember spread, or if it burns in patterned circles, straight lines, geometric shapes, do not report it as a wildfire. Do not mention it on the radio unless Carla specifically asks about unusual observations. I filed the supplements. The protocol stack was becoming substantial. I counted the pages, 32 sheets now, covering maybe 60 distinct rules and procedures. That night, I followed my routine. Curtains at 10:15 p.m. I checked the south window. 5 lights clustered tightly together, moving in a circular pattern. I watched them for 2 minutes. They separated into a line and disappeared. I filled a cup with water and placed it on the south windowsill. At sunrise, I poured it outside. The stove was off, no visible smoke. I opened the east window slightly. The smell intensified, thick and acrid. I closed the window immediately. Within 20 minutes, the smell faded. I logged it. Smoke smell in cabin, 3:00 p.m. Window test conducted per supplement 1. Smell dissipated. On Wednesday, I inspected the exterior platform during my afternoon walk. I found scorch marks on the southeast corner. 3 parallel lines, each about 6 inches long, dark brown against the gray paint. They hadn't been there on Monday. I had no camera, so I sketched them in my log notebook. Thursday morning, I radioed Carla. Morning check, all clear. A pause. Copy, Tower 1. Marks on the southeast platform, 3 parallel lines. Copy, I'll check it during next supply drop. I was at the desk logging weather data. The cabin tilted slightly, a gentle rocking motion. I checked the window. Trees were barely moving. Wind maybe 5 miles per hour. I noted the time and watched my coffee cup on the desk. It slid an inch to the left. The swaying continued. I counted seconds, 40, 50, 60. I moved to the center of the cabin and stood with feet shoulder-width apart. The swaying intensified slightly, then stopped at 1 minute, 20 seconds. I waited, breathing steadily. Silence. I checked the GPS, 5621 GW. Correct. I logged the incident. Tower sway at 2:15 p.m. Duration 1 minute 20 seconds. Wind under 5 mph. GPS coordinates stable. On Friday, I conducted my morning sweep. 6 fire roads visible. I counted again carefully, tracing each one with the binoculars. 6 total. I logged it. I heard footsteps on the ladder. I counted from bed. Slow, deliberate steps. 30, 40, 50, 55, 58, pause, 59, 60. I moved to the center of the cabin and sat on the floor. I made no sound. I listened. No knock, no voice, just silence pressing against the windows. I counted my breaths, trying to stay calm. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then the footsteps descended. I counted 60 steps going down. The count matched. I waited 30 minutes, sitting in silence, before I stood and returned to bed. I logged it. 1:43 a.m. 60 steps ascending, 60 descending. Counts matched. Protocol followed. Sunday morning, I placed 3 stones on the north windowsill. I checked Monday at sunrise. 4 stones. I picked up the extra, black, smooth, unusually warm, and threw it 50 yards into the forest. I logged the incident. Carla arrived Monday with supplies. She inspected the scorch marks on the platform, taking photographs with a small camera. "Seen these before," she said. "Lightning, static discharge, electrical anomalies." She looked at me. "You're doing fine. 3 more weeks." She left an envelope. I opened it after she descended. Revised emergency protocols. The original 5 emergency protocols were there, but with additions and modifications. Emergency 2 now included. During emergency mode, ration stored water. 1 bottle per day maximum. Fill all available containers with water from the pump during daylight hours. Do not use the pump after dark under any circumstances. If you run out of stored water during emergency mode, you may use the pump during daylight only if you first place a stone from the clearing on the pump handle. Remove the stone after pumping. Do not use the same stone twice. Emergency 5 was extensively revised. If someone approaches the tower during emergency mode claiming to be Forest Service personnel, verify identity through the cabin window. Ask for the code phrase. If they cannot provide it, inform them you are under quarantine protocols and cannot open the door. If they insist or attempt to force entry, activate the emergency beacon on the roof access panel. Do not open the door. If they claim to be Carla specifically, ask for a secondary verification. Request that they describe the contents of the current supply pack in detail. If their description is incorrect or incomplete, do not engage further. Close all curtains and move to the center of the cabin. If they attempt to climb the ladder, count the steps. Follow Rule 12 protocols based on the count. A new emergency 6. If the forest around the tower catches fire and you cannot evacuate safely, seal all windows and doors. Wet all linens and towels and pack them around window frames and door seams. Fill the sink completely. Soak your clothes if necessary. Monitor the radio continuously. If flames reach within 50 yards of the tower base, move to the center of the cabin and lie flat on the floor. Cover your head with wet towels. Remain in this position until the fire passes or you receive all clear from Carla. Do not attempt to fight the fire. Do not go outside for any reason. I filed the revised protocols and conducted my evening sweep. The smoke to the northwest had thickened. Visibility down to 8 miles, air quality orange, M. Tower 1, smoke increasing. Copy Tower 1, Marble Mountain fire had a flare-up today, wind shifted east. We're monitoring, should stabilize overnight. That night, I hung the curtains at 10:15. I checked the south window. 6 lights, more than 5. I counted again carefully. 6 distinct lights moving independently through the valley, some fast, some slow, weaving between trees. I filled 6 cups with water, using every cup I had plus a bowl, and placed 1 on each windowsill, north, south, east, west, and 2 on the remaining sills beside the others. At sunrise, I poured all of them outside and washed each container 3 times. Tuesday morning, visibility had improved slightly. 9 miles, air quality yellow. I logged it. I saw a group of hikers on Sawyer Creek Trail. I counted them. 5 people moving together heading downhill. I watched them through the binoculars. They stayed grouped, talking, moving at a steady pace. I tracked them until they disappeared around a switchback. I logged it, 4:37 p.m. 5 hikers, grouped, moving downhill on Sawyer Creek Trail. No separation from Group M. I checked all the windows. South, nothing. East, nothing. I looked down at the clearing. A figure stood there, closer than I'd ever seen before. maybe 15 yards from the tower base. Tall, dark, but this time I could see it had arms, legs, a head, human-shaped, but something was wrong with the proportions. The arms too long or the legs too short. I couldn't tell in the darkness. I let the curtain fall and returned to bed facing the wall. M. On Thursday, I conducted my morning sweep. I counted fire roads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 fire roads visible. I set the binoculars down carefully. I moved immediately to all the windows and closed the blackout curtains, north, south, east, west. The cabin went dark. I sat at the desk and opened my log. Radio check. Amendment 1 specifically prohibited radio use. 48 hours of blackout for 8 or more roads. I sat in the darkness and waited. I ate canned peaches for breakfast, cold. I drank water. I listened to the silence. Hours passed, marked only by my watch. I logged the time every hour, 9 o'clock a.m. Blackout continues. 10 o'clock a.m. Blackout continues. M. I did not respond. She called again at 8:30. Silence. I sat at the desk, 10 feet from the radio, and did not move. The day crawled past. I used the bathroom, ate lunch, drank water. The cabin was completely dark except for the faint glow of my watch face. I kept logging. 2 o'clock p.m. Blackout continues. 5 o'clock p.m. Blackout continues. I felt my way to the kitchen and ate dinner. Canned soup, cold. I sat at the desk in the blackness and waited for 48 hours to pass. At some point, I dozed in the chair. I had set it out of habit. I sat in the darkness, unable to check the south window, unable to count lights. I noted the time in my log by feel, writing in the dark, 2:47 a.m. Unable to observe per blackout protocol, Thursday became Friday. I marked the hours. I slept in the chair in the bed, woke and slept again. Time became elastic, measured only by my watch. I heard sounds outside, wind, branches, something that might have been footsteps, but I couldn't tell. I stayed inside, stayed still, followed the protocol. Friday became Saturday. I ate sparingly, drank water, used the bathroom, logged the hours. At one point I thought I smelled smoke again, but in the darkness I couldn't investigate. The smell faded. Exactly 48 hours after I'd closed the curtains, I opened the east curtain first. Dawn light flooded in, blinding after 2 days of darkness. I blinked, tears streaming. I opened all the curtains. I conducted a full sweep, hands shaking. I counted fire roads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 fire roads. I sat down heavily. I logged it. August 24th, 7:55 a.m. 8 fire roads observed Thursday morning. 48-hour blackout completed. 6 roads confirmed. Resuming normal operations. I radioed Carla. My voice was hoarse. A long pause. Operational. Blackout protocol completed. Another pause. Copy. Tower 1. She arrived at 11, climbing the ladder faster than usual. She looked at me, at the cabin, at the stacks of food wrappers and water bottles. Yes, 48 hours, no radio. She nodded slowly. Good, that's good. Most people break. They call in, they open the curtains, they try to look. She set down a pack of supplies. You've got 2 weeks left. She didn't answer. She handed me an envelope and climbed back down. The envelope contained a single sheet. Final guidance. You have demonstrated exceptional protocol compliance. The remaining 2 weeks will test your endurance and judgment. Stay precise. Stay consistent. Trust the rules even when they seem impossible, especially then. If you complete your contract successfully, you will be offered a permanent position. This is not mandatory. Consider carefully. Remember, the protocols exist for a reason. Previous operators learned these rules through consequence. You have the advantage of their experience. Honor that. C. I filed the note and made fresh coffee. My first hot coffee in 2 days, it tasted extraordinary. The next 2 weeks developed a strange quality. Time felt thicker, more resistant. Each day stretched longer than it should have. But I maintained the rhythms. On Sunday, I placed 3 stones on the north windowsill. Monday morning, 5 stones. I threw the extras 40 and 50 yards into the forest. I logged it. On Tuesday, I saw smoke in the cabin again at noon. I opened a window. The smell decreased. I left it open for 5 minutes, then closed it. The smell vanished. The tower swayed for 2 minutes, wind under 5 miles per hour. GPS coordinates remained stable. My own voice. Please let me in. I'm locked out. I filled the sink with water and submerged both hands. Cold, so cold, 3 minutes. The voices stopped. I counted. 58 steps up, 58 steps down after 5 minutes of silence. Standard count. I logged it. I saw a single hiker on Sawyer Creek Trail. I did not watch. I logged the time. Sunday came again. I placed 3 stones. Monday morning, 3 stones remained. Correct count. Carla brought the final supply drop on Monday. She looked tired but satisfied. 1 more week, she said. She handed me an envelope. Read this tonight. After she left, I opened it. Departure protocols. 1. On your final morning, conduct a full sweep at sunrise. Count fire roads. If the count is 6, proceed with departure. If the count is not 6, delay departure and follow protocols for non-standard counts. Radio Carla with your status. 2. Before leaving, conduct a complete inventory of all equipment and supplies. Log everything in detail. Note any damaged, missing, or anomalous items. 3. Collect all protocol documents from the desk drawer. Do not read them one final time. Place them in the drawer exactly as you found them. Lock the desk drawer with the small key taped under the desk. Leave the key in the lock. 4. Remove all personal items. Do not leave anything behind, not even trash. Pack everything you brought. 5. Close all curtains, standard curtains, not blackout curtains. Turn off all appliances. Check that the propane valve is closed. Ensure the radio is set to channel 7. 6. Lock the cabin door. Descend the ladder at normal pace. Do not count the rungs on your final descent. 7. At the base of the tower, turn and look up at the cabin for 30 seconds. This is mandatory. After 30 seconds, turn away and walk to the trailhead. Do not look back. 8. At the trailhead, radio Carla. Tower 1 departing. Wait for her response before leaving the area. I filed the departure protocols and prepared for the final week. The last 7 days were quiet. Almost too quiet. I followed every protocol, maintained every log entry, conducted every sweep with precision. The forest seemed to be watching, waiting to see if I would slip, if I would make a single mistake in these final hours. I saw 4 lights in the valley, safe count. I watched them move in a diamond formation. I checked the clearing. A figure stood there, the closest yet, maybe 10 yards from the tower base. I could see it more clearly now. Humanoid, but the head turned at an angle that wasn't quite right. I returned to bed, faced the wall, waited until 6. On Thursday, I conducted my sweep. 6 fire roads. I logged it. Duration, 45 seconds. Wind calm, GPS stable. I moved to the center of the cabin and wrote it out. 58 steps up, 58 steps down, standard count. Sunday, my last Sunday, I placed 3 stones on the north windowsill. Monday morning, 3 stones remained. I returned them to the clearing, touching each one carefully, feeling their cold weight one last time. Monday, September 4th, my final day. I woke before sunrise and lay in bed listening to the silence. At first light, I rose and removed all the blackout curtains for the last time. I conducted my final sweep. I counted fire roads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 fire roads, departure authorized. I spent the morning following the departure protocols exactly. Full inventory logged, all equipment accounted for, minor damage to one pot, no anomalous items. I collected all the protocol documents, now 38 pages of rules and amendments and clarifications and revisions. I did not read them again. I placed them in the desk drawer in order, locked it with the small key I found taped underneath, and left the key in the lock. I packed my personal items. I checked every corner, every shelf, nothing left behind. I closed all the standard curtains. I turned off the mini fridge, the radio, checked the propane valve. Everything secured. I stood in the cabin one last time. The space felt different now, familiar but foreign. I had lived here for 3 months across 2 contracts, followed dozens of rules, seen things I still didn't understand. The desk, the windows, the view, they would wait for the next operator. I locked the cabin door and descended the ladder. At the bottom, I turned and looked up at the cabin. 30 seconds. I counted them carefully. The white structure gleamed against blue sky. Windows dark behind drawn curtains, silent and waiting. At 30 seconds, I turned away and walked toward the trailhead. I did not look back. The hike down took 1 hour and 50 minutes. At the trailhead, Carla's truck was already there. I keyed the radio. Tower 1 departing. Copy, Tower 1, well done. She got out of the truck and smiled. You did it. Full contract, 0 protocol violations. You did more than that. She handed me an envelope. Final payment and a letter. We drove down the mountain in silence. At the base office, she shook my hand. The offer stands. If you want to come back, the position is yours. I took the envelope and got in my car. I drove home, unpacked, showered, slept for 12 hours straight. The next morning, I opened the letter. You have successfully completed 2 full contracts at Fire Tower 1. Your protocol compliance is exceptional. Your logs are meticulous. Your judgment under pressure is sound. We are offering you a permanent position as Senior Tower Operator. The role includes year-round assignment to Fire Tower 1, responsibility for training new operators, protocol development and revision based on observed phenomena. Increased compensation. This position requires permanent residency at the tower, 2 weeks off per quarter. You would be the first permanent operator since 1973. The forest needs someone who understands the rules, someone who can follow them without question, someone who can teach others to do the same. Consider carefully. Respond by September 15th. Carla Mendez, District Supervisor. I read the letter 3 times. I thought about the tower, the protocols, the things I'd seen and heard and carefully not understood. I thought about the figure in the clearing, the lights in the valley, the footsteps on the ladder. I thought about the trail that doesn't exist in daylight. I thought about how, at the end of 48 hours in total darkness, I had felt calm, focused, clear. On September 14th, I called Carla. It's me. Yes. A pause. Are you certain? It's permanent. Most of the year alone. I'm certain. You do. That's why I want you there. Done. I'll prepare the paperwork and the updated protocols. There are more rules for permanent operators, longer lists. I could hear the smile in her voice. Welcome aboard. I hung up and looked at the map still sitting on my desk. The tower at the center. The 6 fire roads radiating outward, Sawyer Creek Trail winding through the forest. And there, in careful pencil, the ghost line of Ridgeback Trail branching west into unmarked territory. I would return to the tower in 2 weeks. I would climb the ladder, 58 rungs, and unlock the cabin door. I would read the new protocols, learn the new rules, train the operators who came after me. I would count fire roads and lights and footsteps. I would hang curtains and place stones and fill the sink when necessary. And perhaps eventually, when I had proven myself fully, When I had followed every rule without exception for long enough, someone would tell me what the map means. What Ridgeback Trail really is, where it leads, why it appears only in darkness, or perhaps I would never know. Perhaps the not knowing was the point. Perhaps the rules existed not to explain the forest, but to create a careful distance from explanations. A protocol for living alongside mysteries without demanding they reveal themselves. I had 2 weeks to prepare. I made lists. Better boots, warmer clothes, more books, supplies for long-term residents. I notified my landlord, closed my accounts, arranged for mail forwarding. I gave away most of what I owned. I needed very little now. On September 28th, I drove back up the mountain. Carla met me at the trailhead with a heavy pack full of supplies in a thick envelope. "Your permanent protocols," she said. 47 pages. Good luck. I hiked up Sawyer Creek Trail one more time. The forest welcomed me back. Familiar trees, familiar switchbacks, familiar elevation gain. At the top, the tower stood waiting. White cabin, glass windows, solar panels. Home. I climbed the ladder. 58 rungs. I didn't count them, but I felt each one. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. The desk, the stove, the shelves. The radio hummed quietly. The GPS showed the correct coordinates. The windows offered their panoramic view of ridges and valleys and distant peaks. I unpacked my gear and opened the envelope of permanent protocols. 47 pages of rules organized into sections. Daily operations, weekly maintenance, monthly assessments, quarterly reviews, emergency procedures, training protocols, advanced observations. I would read them all tonight. I would memorize them. I would follow them exactly. But first, I conducted a sweep. I counted the fire roads visible from the tower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 fire roads. Everything in order, everything as it should be. I sat at the desk and opened the fresh log notebook. I began to write. September 28th. Permanent assignment begins. Sunset sweep. 6 fire roads confirmed. All equipment operational. Awaiting nightfall to begin standard protocols. M. I watched the light drain from the valley, the forest turning black, the stars emerging one by one. I hung the blackout curtains on the north and west windows. I would wake and check the south window. I would count the lights. I would follow the rules, and the tower would keep its secrets, and I would keep mine, and together we would watch the forest through the endless cycle of nights and days and seasons, counting and logging and waiting for whatever comes next. Because that's what the rules require. And I know how to follow the rules.